Hey everyone, and welcome. Today, we're going to dig deep into the psychology of confidence. I mean, it's something we all want, right? But where does it really come from? We're about to explore the hidden traps we all fall into, and maybe, just maybe, uncover a much deeper, more resilient kind of self-assurance. So, let's get into it.
So to kick things off, I want you to just sit with this question for a second. What if everything we've been told about building our self-esteem, the constant positive affirmations, the relentless focus on achievement, what if that's actually part of the problem? What if the real key is something else entirely? Kind of flips things on its head, doesn't it? And check out this quote. It comes from a real story about a woman who is just showered with praise her entire childhood. Now, you'd think she'd be the most confident person alive, right? But no, the exact opposite happened. The sheer weight of all that praise, the constant fear of not living up to it, it completely paralyzed her. It's just a perfect and kind of heartbreaking example of how this whole confidence thing can backfire.
And that story leads us right into the two massive psychological traps that so many of us fall into, and yeah, it often starts when we're kids. On the surface, they look like total opposites, but as you're about to see, they actually grow from the exact same root.
Okay, so let's break this down. On one side, you've got the praise child. They're constantly told they're brilliant, they're talented, they're special. And what happens? They develop pride. They start to believe, deep down, my value comes directly from my success. And that belief traps them in this endless, high-stress cycle of having to perform. Then, on the other side, you've got the child who's ignored or maybe criticized. They develop a deep sense of inferiority. Their core belief becomes, I just have no value. And they end up paralyzed, often too afraid to even try.
And this is the absolute kicker. Whether you're that high achiever who's terrified of failing or the person who feels too worthless to even get started, you are both being driven by the exact same fundamental fear. You're both asking the same question day in and day out. Am I worthy of being here? Do I actually deserve to take up space? So if pride and inferiority both spring from that same terrifying question, what's the source? Well, the answer lies in a concept that we can call the surviving child, and it's a part of our personality that pretty much all of us carry around. So what is the surviving child? It's that part of you that learned at a very young age that to be safe, you had to belong. And to belong, you had to get approval from the people around you, your parents, teachers, friends, you name it. Its entire mission, its whole reason for being, is to win that external validation just to make sure it's going to be okay.
And let's look at the logic it runs on. Because it's simple, but it's also absolutely terrifying. It's this chain reaction. Okay, if I succeed, then people will value me. If I'm valued, then I'll belong to the group. And if I belong, then I'll be safe. So what's the ultimate conclusion it draws from all this? My very existence, my fundamental safety in the world, depends completely on how well I perform. That right there is the engine of anxiety that drives both the person filled with pride and the person filled with insecurity.
All right, so this brings us to a really important distinction that's absolutely key to finding a way out of this mess. You see, the kind of confidence that surviving child is chasing, it's a prison. It's fragile. But there is another kind, a kind that represents real freedom. Let's look at the difference.
So first, you've got what we normally just call self-confidence. The source material for this explainer uses a really specific Hebrew term for it that I think is so insightful, bitachon atzmi. This is the confidence that's based entirely on what you do and what other people think about what you do. It's completely conditional. You can think of it like a battery that's always running low and needs constant recharging from praise and success. The second that the praise stops, that battery just dies.
Now, compare that to this other idea, existential confidence. The source calls this bitachon kiyumi, and honestly, it's a total game changer. This kind of confidence isn't based on anything you do, at all. Its foundation is the simple, powerful fact that you exist. Your value is just a given. It's unconditional, it's totally internal, and because it doesn't depend on anyone or anything outside of you, it is completely 100% unshakable.
So, the big question is, how do we get from that fragile, battery-powered self-confidence to this deep, existential kind? Well, the source material gives us this amazing metaphor for it, a journey of liberation, an escape from our own internal prison.
I mean, think about it. This constant need for other people's approval, it really is a kind of slavery, isn't it? You're a slave to other people's opinions. You're a slave to your next achievement, a slave to your fear of failure. In Jewish mysticism, there's this powerful word for that state of inner constriction. It's Mitzrayim, which is the Hebrew word for Egypt, a place of endless, hard labor with no rest. Sound familiar?
This is the million-dollar question, right? If we're stuck in this psychological Egypt, just performing and performing to feel safe, how in the world do we get out?
And here's where it gets really interesting, a little counterintuitive. You don't escape by building a bigger, stronger, more impressive ego. You don't escape by getting more self-confidence. You escape by completely changing your relationship with your own mind. The secret is to learn how to just observe that anxious voice of the surviving child without getting sucked into its drama.
So what does this actually look like in practice? Well, you can think of it as a four-step process. First, just notice the anxiety when it pops up, that fear of messing up, that craving for praise. Step 2, recognize it for what it is. Say to yourself, there it is. That's my surviving child talking. Step 3, and this is the really hard part, just observe it. Don't fight it, don't judge yourself for having it, and most importantly, don't believe it's the real you. Just watch it like a cloud passing in the sky. When you do that, you create space. And in that space, your calm, centered, true self finally has room to breathe. And this practice of just noticing and not reacting, it leads us to the ultimate destination, the core truth of this whole explainer. It's about shifting from trying to earn your worth to simply recognizing that it was there all along.
Let this one really sink in for a second. You don't have to prove that you're worthy. You don't need to earn your spot on this planet. The simple, undeniable proof that you belong here is the fact that you are here. Your existence is its own validation. Full stop. It all comes down to this final massive shift in perspective. Real, true confidence isn't about getting the world to finally grant you permission to be here. It's about realizing you never, ever needed that permission in the first place. You have the right to exist already.
So I'll leave you with a question to just chew on. After everything we've talked about today, just take a quiet moment and ask yourself, in my life right now, who or what am I allowing to define my worth? Is it my job, my relationship status, my successes, my failures, or am I finally ready to claim the worth that was mine all along?